Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Culture Society podcast, where you know what we do. We always strive to give you the best, the latest in news, information, and entertainment, and discuss topics to just make you ponder, make you think, whet the palates of the mind in hopes that you continue similar conversations amongst yourselves. It's Marco Glorious here today once again. Yeah! And we have the Culture Society crew with a very special guest, but let's go down the line. Who else do we have here today, Culture Society?
Iola back on the mic.
Iola Trini, all right? Yeah.
Vicky is here, ready to kill it.
Oh,
Ow.
like that. New adventure for Vic.
Yes.
And we have a very special guest in attendance here today. A good friend of mine, my brother, Patrick Hester.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Television producer extraordinaire.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have worked together. We currently work together.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's an honor to have you here, my brother. It's a pleasure as well. And we're going to be discussing today, at the Culture Society, we like to pose questions. And today, the topic, it might be a little controversial, but this is what we are here to do. So I'm going to say this. Topic today, the gay agenda, fact or myth?
Tell us what it is, Marco. What is the gay agenda?
Right,
That's
correct.
A mouthful. That's
Hold
a
on.
mouthful.
By the way, I have my libation today is some, I was about to say some creamy.
I'm dead.
I caught myself, but
It's milky.
Vanilla cream.
listen,
coffee.
they're not cutting no checks. So this is just a libation.
It's a coffee.
with a nice green straw.
Plastic.
Anyway, so yes, the gay agenda, fact or myth. Now, our guest today, Patrick Hester. Patrick, are you a gay man?
I am, yes.
Patrick is a gay man. I'm a straight man. Ayola, what do you identify with?
I identify as cisgender hetero.
Okay.
Very progressive.
Thank you.
Wait, what is that exactly?
So cisgender is when you identify as the sex that you were born with, like on your birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that the body parts that you were born with. Yes.
Gotcha. And Vic?
Ooh.
I was really gonna
We
Google it.
learning.
I'm generally straight.
My girl.
Are you bi?
My girl.
What is it? Micro straight? What is that?
I mean, I'm mainly straight, but
Mainly.
You dabble?
Should a 10 walk by?
There
The
we go.
rain
Yeah,
in Spain.
Exactly.
Yeah, we
Oh.
I'm
are
here for
starting
that.
out.
The rain
Are
in
you
Spain.
questioning though, or
No, the questions have
been
come and
answered?
passed.
And it's been fun.
in
Yeah, it's been
Spain.
good.
It's been fun.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Should
Rain.
it walk past, we're good to go.
Spain stays mainly
I'm dead.
on the planet.
Wait,
I've perished.
poetry?
Okay.
That was a limerick. Anyway,
What you know about limericks?
listen. Okay.
Haiku.
Okay.
Haiku.
Well, now let's get into this. So, that's been a topic of discussion. Whether it's if that's something that is actually prevalent in our society. Is that something that's real? Is that something that's factual? Now, me being a straight man, right? I consider myself to be comfortable in my sex, in myself, and
Ow, ow.
He's
I'm getting a little hot.
unzipping. He's
I know,
unzipping.
Wow, he's
Okay.
unzipping
All right
and taking
now.
it
Here we
all.
are.
Here we go.
He's like, I am comfortable in
Right.
my sex.
little hot there.
Are you going to
I'm
take
truly
it all
done.
off
I'm
to
just saying.
prove that?
Yikes.
Well, hold on, wait, that's another podcast.
Did we talk about doing one naked? I don't
After
know.
hours.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But so, like, people have actually have thought, like, in the way our society the way our society is nowadays. This is a conversation that I believe needs to be had. People are wondering. Some people actually think that there might be a gay agenda. Some people think that that's completely ridiculous to even think that way. We've progressed so far as a society, and I try to be as benevolent as possible to everyone, whether no matter your race, color, sex, creed, whatever you identify with. So, with that being said, I do have questions as well, as far as what certain demographics, like let's say, gay men, gay women, think and feel, and how the way in which that they view straight people, or and what do they really actually even care what we think? So with that being said, Patrick, I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Now, just off the bat, would you say that there is a gay agenda? And if you say yes, if there is, what exactly? Because that doesn't necessarily mean a gay agenda could be, anything. So is there a gay agenda?
Well, can you
Pat?
clarify it first before you answer the question? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of harkens back to there was this gentleman named Marshall Kirk who kind of wrote this article back in like 1987 during like the rise of like the LGBT.
I've heard about this.
Expression, like when AIDS was really big and we were really popular. It was like late 80s, early 90s that got a lot of buzz. I think it was the overhauling of straight America by this gentleman, and basically it kind of illustrated principles of how gay people are to act in a straight space.
Wow.
Kind of like how we are to be accepted,
Conduct.
what we are to do. There were things like how we almost are to make a person who hurts us like we need to victimize ourselves,
Right.
in a sense of kind of making sure that everyone aware of us, including straight people, are aware of how to make someone feel that we are accepted and all that stuff.
Wow.
With that being said, of course, the Christian church kind of retaliated against that.
Surprise,
and then
surprise.
they kind of assumed and kind of made motion, especially with the power that they have, creating what is now known as the gay agenda, which basically kind of makes it seem as though we as gay people somehow are trying to convert heterosexual people into the homosexual lifestyle by somehow being accepted. So then from that moment, especially people who are religious and things of that nature, it then created this whole idea as we are trying to somehow corrupt the heterosexual
and
world.
gaify everyone.
Exactly,
right,
and bring
yeah.
people on our side.
Let me ask you this. So this gentleman, Marshall Kirk, correct?
Yeah,
Now,
Marshall Kirk, yeah.
We don't do we know, was he actually a gay man?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would assume that he was. He had about 6 principles kind of outlining what everything was.
And
so,
this,
yeah.
Do we know what sparked him to create this like these guidelines?
Yeah, the
or-
rise in just like the LGBTQ
AIDS, HIV,
kind of like, yeah, exactly.
Well, so were
Everybody
they
was afraid.
Were they positive or were they
Of
kind of
course.
like
I mean,
to keep you guys safe?
Exactly. I
Okay.
agree with some of them in a sense of just kind of, it was kind of illustrating that we should express our gayness to the fullest.
Oh, okay.
In a sense of like showing everyone that we're gay and then somehow cooperating with the straight people to have us all accepted. That way, by having acceptance, we can somehow use that in government ways, in professional ways, because by having those people accept us, then they could help us.
Right.
And-
So it's kind of countering this gay agenda that
Exactly.
that gay people are out to like make everyone gay and to like there were like some absurd things that the gay agenda
Yeah.
were like claiming.
Well, it came from
It's
the
like-
Christian church, which I'm sure most of us know, or some of us have some type of religion in regards to how we were raised. They kind of assume that by having ourselves be accepted by the straight world, we are somehow converting the straight world into becoming us.
And over like this notion of like gay people are
Exactly.
over-sexualized
Yeah.
and is out for like this promiscuity. And
Exactly.
actually, I was reading pedophilia was kind of a concept that they were like taught like
100%.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of takes away from some people's gay experience, because that does happen, especially in Black culture in regards to people not understanding sexuality and things of that nature. But
Wait,
it's
what
still,
does-
the
what
assumption,
happens?
the
like
fear, the
pedophilia and kind of just like not understanding one's own sexuality. But the intent behind the gay agenda, I think, was to glorify it in a more grander scheme, whereas it's not really what a lot of people think that it is.
So wait,
But I do, to answer your question, I do think that it does exist in certain
Ooh.
places.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's everything in regards to homosexuality in our culture.
It's not fully encompassing of the gay community.
It doesn't represent everybody, but
Okay.
I think it does definitely exist.
Wow.
I would never think
I
that
think
a gay
it's
person would say that.
It's controversial, but I think it's very true.
Really?
Wait, real
Yeah.
quick. So you're saying Marshall Kirk, he started these parameters for the acceptance of homosexuality.
Yes,
society.
in the straight space.
And
yes.
you're saying almost that the Christian church took it and ran with it and almost was like, hey, there is a gay agenda here.
Of course. Why
Gotcha.
would they want anyone to go against their beliefs or anything of that
I see
nature?
what you're saying.
And as a
Okay.
person who grew up in the church, like, I went to church every
I
Sunday.
grew up in the church too.
I was a youth preacher
Hold on,
and all
wait,
that
wait,
stuff
you-
and everything
hold
like
on,
that.
wait, you-
I preached at age 13
Oh,
in the
that's
church.
amazing. So did
knowing
you know
what-
at
choir
the
director?
time? Did
I
you
was
know?
a choir. Yeah.
Did you know?
Wait,
Of
you're from the
course.
South.
Well, my mom is. My
Okay.
mom is, and I was born
You
here.
grew up here in New York.
I grew
Now,
up here in
you
New
knew,
York.
and do you feel like you felt things from the church based on that?
Yeah, I think it was more of like a struggle between both things, because I would be lying if I said I didn't know something was up with me from as much as I can remember.
Okay.
Not-
But when you are 12 years old and your parents are saying, let's go to church, you just go to church.
Right,
And
right.
you do what you're told and you kind of follow
It's
suit
part
with
of your
everything.
community, right?
But when you start to learn things on your own and you kind of start to experience things on your own, you start to realize that maybe I'm not believing everything that's happening. And then that's when you kind of start questioning things and you start experiencing things and exploring for yourself.
Not for nothing.
So did you leave the church at some point? I'm sorry.
I would consider myself spiritual, but I wouldn't consider myself religious at this point because I do think there's something out there definitely guiding us along for sure. There's things that are unexplained that I think humans can't say happened outside of something out there.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a concept that I was thinking about while I was thinking about this gay agenda, and the fact that it was a Catholic Christian concept, and how punitive and negative and controlling the like larger religions can be. It actually kind of like really turned me off, and I really do always wonder, like most kids, like I think most kids that I know grow up in some type of religion. Even in my whole household where my dad was Muslim and my mom was Christian, we went somewhere, and it just to me is just like so back turning towards religion, and we're in millennials and younger are I think the most religiously and spiritually confused people because we've seen how the church has like turned their back on a lot of people, especially like gay or questioning people.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, choir director is always somebody that the stereotype always.
Well,
you just sipped your libation on that?
I plead the fifth.
But now, let's get back. So you said that you do feel that there's a gay agenda in some aspects.
Well, I would be lying if I would be sitting here saying there hasn't been an opportunity in regards to a straight space where I took initiative to do things for my own benefit, which I think essentially equates what the gay agenda is. I'm much older now and I kind of know better, but I think I would be sitting here lying, and I'm talking about my experience and I don't want to generalize
We
it.
appreciate you, yeah.
We appreciate the honesty too.
Yeah, but I do think that there are gay people that seek out certain things in the straight space for their own benefit, which kind of fosters behavior that promote essentially what people are calling the gay agenda. Because as gay people, we're attracted to what we're attracted to, and somehow that could be controversial in a straight space because in actuality, they may not be interested, but we can't deny our attraction to them, which is essentially what the gay agenda is, what the Christians are saying that we're trying to do.
So you're talking about like a gay man flirting with a boss who may be hetero,
exactly,
but maybe enjoy it.
Maybe not even just the boss. It could be just anyone. The moment that you get like the inclination or the signal, it's almost like you're propelling forward to get essentially what the gay agenda is saying.
To be like, but that's human nature, right?
But there is a way to go about it.
To manipulate a little bit more than necessary.
Yeah.
I'm just struggling with this, I guess, because I feel like any group of people, any tribe of people can be opportunistic.
Yeah.
And whether that is that an agenda, is that the machine at work? Look, all you have to do is look at me once and I'll be like, oh, it's a conspiracy? I'm in. I know. So, right, like it doesn't take much for me, and I get it, but I guess I've been silent because I don't
I was waiting for you to say something.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around what we're saying. So the agenda by way of just the Catholic Church,
Christian.
Well, they're the ones that
Christian conservatives.
They're the ones that created what we call the gay agenda.
They perpetuate it.
They're the one that created the term. Allegedly,
I did no research before I said I wanted to come here and be taught. I wanted to learn while I'm right here. You feel me? Because I don't know, and like. I have tons of gay friends, but I will tell you some really heinous things have been occurring in their lives as of late. For example, a really great friend of mine, 2 decades in the school system, not in this state, was the head of LGBTQ club at this high school in a very affluent neighborhood, what have you. And he had been texting with some of his students. This is not new news. Yeah. I mean, I even was texting with my teacher who, when I was in AP English, Lit and Lang, 11th and 12th, you know what I'm saying? I got 4s out here, but no biggie. You know, he made me the best writer I could be, but he's gay, and like, 1, 2, I'm texting him. 3, he'd pick me up and drop me off at school. But in high school. But like a mentor, right? Yeah, at the time, but I was 17, 18. I mean, that's very sus. Same things happening over here. Affluent society. Mother finds out. Hoverboard mother. says to Board of Ed, this teacher is trying to convert my son
God.
because teacher ended up really not wanting to write the recommendation letter to college because he didn't think that it would be. And there it is.
Yeah.
And his career, my friend's career, is completely ruined. He can never be working in a classroom again.
That's unfortunate.
And he just finished his master's degree. So like that's the first example that came to my mind in terms of some sort of an agenda that it doesn't just particularly have to come from a church
or
perspective. It comes from
a hysteria mindset in a sense.
Okay, I'll take it.
Like
hysterical mindset. Yeah, absolutely. Which is more or less our 1%ers who enjoy norms and status quo
and control. Yeah.
Oh yes, if you're in the 1%, you know the best ways to control are through power, sex, and money. Which I mean,
that's essentially how
sex
America.
and money. Yeah. Right, and like it is what it is. So I don't even know. I don't know even where I was going with that, but I mean,
it speaks to the concept.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about it.
It speaks to the conversation.
Yeah, but I also think it speaks to the concept of like where we are politically right now in 2019, where like just this year the ban against transgender in our military was passed. When you're talking about like homosexuality being a thing that is pretty new as far as gaining rights, and you can interrupt me. I mean, you would know more than anything.
No, I mean, think about it. It was in 2015 when we actually were able to get married in every state.
Yeah,
and that's only 4 years ago.
Right.
And it hasn't even, it'll be 4 years in June. Essentially, that's when it happened. It happened the Pride weekend. I remember like it was yesterday. I was at work, and it happened, and we cried at Stonewall.
It's a huge deal.
It's a huge. We were at Stonewall crying, saying like we're all able to get what everyone else gets. It's a monumental moment.
And
they're trying to revert back.
Tip though is a little. I struggle with that one.
The
heavily.
transgender,
in the military.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that if you are in the military and you end up going through your transition and you have to have an inflow of hormones and drugs and so on,
you shouldn't have a gun.
I don't know. Maybe you should have a desk position. I don't know if you should be in combat. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but this is where my struggle lies. Like I'm
shouldn't have a
socially
gun
liberal,
when I'm
but
on my
like, am I
period,
so? Yeah, like these are questions I have.
But you know what's funny? You know what's great about what it is that you're saying, and one thing that I'm appreciative about even being invited and having this conversation. It's oftentimes, you know, we as someone who's in like the LGBT world or someone who identifies as gay, it's almost as if I can't say something that goes against what
it's
the norm
tribal.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't,
and the reality of it is that I can't help what I believe and what I truly believe. And in regards to, you know, the homosexual experience, the black gay experience, or anything like that. So oftentimes especially in this whole cancel culture or everyone having a voice, it's almost controversial if you say something against the norm. When in actuality, it's just my opinion.
It helps the conversation,
and it helps everything.
And why can't I?
It helps to get
and you
informed.
could, and that's what's the beauty in what it is that you're saying. It's kind of like, this is how I feel.
Right.
And weirdly enough, you know, even when you introduce yourself as like cis female and all that stuff, it's like that to me as a gay man, it's kind of still like a little murky. And like with the transgender stuff, it's still kind of murky to me too, because I agree, you know, with this whole hormone stuff, if you're being drugged and you're being pumped with all this stuff, God bless you. You should always be your authentic self. But at the same time, do I necessarily want you? Yeah. Do I want you representing everything where that stuff has been scientifically proven to mess with your mind and do all these things? It's all these things, but
so do you think
you can't say that.
Is there's an over labeling? Do you think because like
of course,
especially we're liberal.
Of course, we need everything.
If we weren't having this conversation, I would not introduce myself as cisgender, but I understand the word in the context of homosexuality and sexual identification. So I will introduce myself as that, and I've heard people talk about it, and I'm just like, wait, what is this cisgender thing? And I had to figure it out myself, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize it was different to identify myself as the person I was born as, but I will do it when necessary. But the fact that we are in a world where we have to kind of
that's where we are
state our labels, and I don't even think it's necessary, because like what I do with my vagina or how I identify what's in between my legs, it's really nobody's business.
Nope,
you know
you're wrong. I mean? It's everybody.
Everybody gotta know.
Everybody
gotta know.
And God forbid you're a woman that maybe be, you know, pro the ban or something like that. Then you're in a tribe. That's. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you can't ever be whoever it is that you are out here. So
I think my perspective is, because I forgot to mention this when we had the conversation about abortions, and I'm like, I would never have an abortion, but I would not ever tell anybody what to do with their bodies. And I think if more people thought like that based on their values, like I don't believe in an electric chair, but I would want the masses to vote on that because I think everyone should have a right to their opinion. You know what I mean?
It's kind of the essential what you're saying. I think that people often are saying, like, when people say like pro-life and pro-choice, you're making it seem as though people who are pro-choice are anti-life.
Right.
The thing is, and I know this isn't like the topic at hand, but you bring up a really good point in a sense of like, if I'm choosing to do what I want, and I'm not a woman, and I will never have to deal with...
But you have genitals, so you can understand making a decision about that,
But also at the same time, just because I'm choosing to do something with my body doesn't mean that I'm anti-life. It just means that it wasn't the right decision for me. So they need to make it, instead of pro-life and pro-choice, they need to make it anti-choice, because you're saying that I'm not able to choose what it is that I'm supposed to do. Because when you put the whole life element on it, and we could even put that in the whole gay space. It's like when you put all these grand things, it's making it seem as if I'm against something.
Yes.
You know, if I'm saying I'm spiritual, it means that, oh, now you don't like church. It's like, no, I think everyone should find their spirit however they find it.
Exactly.
Or if someone's like, oh, you don't believe in like praying at church. It's like, no, I don't pray at church. It makes, when you make all these grand things and you make it seem as if it's something, it makes it so much bigger
limitations,
than it has. 100%.
Yeah.
The over-labeling is true.
But we are the victims of that. We are in the generation where we're the cause of it.
And we are creating
and the effect.
We may not be individually those people, but we're the generation now that are making sure that everything is specified, and it's like for safety.
Defined.
It's like to make sure that everyone has a place.
Right.
When in actuality, everything was easier when we didn't have all of these things.
Do you think so?
I think a little bit. When I was growing up in the 90s, we were fine. We all kind of grew up in the 90s.
I mean,
but maybe I was naive to it. Maybe I was ignorant to a lot of things, but I feel as though it wasn't.
When you're growing up, though, you're a child. You don't, like when I was a child, I loved Little Richie, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's so excited and he dances so great. Like
Little Richie, who's that?
Little Richard.
Oh, Little Richard.
I'm deceased.
Come on. What the hell is Little Richard?
I got
Ain't nobody ever called him Little Richie.
They do. Little Richard.
Let
it go.
All right.
I didn't know what she was talking about. I'm like, who the hell is
I
Little
didn't know
Richard?
him as Little Richard. I know him as Little Richie.
Hello.
Like wop bop bop bop.
Yeah.
Apparently he was gay.
100%.
But
That was the black Liberace, honey.
I'm still not sure, but no one talked to me about what gay meant or what gay looked like. And I was just like, I like him.
But you know why, though? If I had to honestly say that, I think, I don't want to put it on a whole race. In the black experience, gay isn't talked about.
That's what I want to talk to you about.
Gay isn't talked about. Like, I'm thankful that I have a mom that just, like, let me be myself and she just got it. But still to this day, I know that she's fine with everything in my life, but also at the same time, we just don't talk about it. You know, my mom's a very religious woman. She goes to church on Sunday and everything like that, and she's fine with my lifestyle. And I'm sure she'll be at my wedding and she'll be happy whenever I find whatever I need to find. But at the same time, we just don't talk about it. I'm not talking to her about who I'm sleeping with.
Sex anyway, right?
It's like, but that I think is within itself the black experience.
Yeah,
it's
right.
a
When
lot
you
that goes into that.
if you're a kid and there's omission, you find out in retrospect, what does that make you then think? That it was bad. Whatever it was that was omitted is now labeled as bad. So if you're not talking about these things, you're allowing stigma and taboo to pervade.
But it makes us more ignorant.
Yes,
like
and we
also
live in an
makes us more
abstinent culture,
dangerous,
which is Puritan.
Which
But
is
then it also
sad,
makes it more
though.
curious as well.
It does.
If you're on that end of
you just took
spectrum.
the words out of my mouth. And the thing that makes me emotional and sad about this whole situation is then you have people experimenting in ways that are very dangerous with their family, with like in their outsourcing, and then you hear these like down low stories because we as a culture, especially as a black culture, aren't talking about it.
That's what I want to talk.
We just don't talk about these things.
So,
and in relation to the gay experience, that ties in a lot with the agenda, especially as a black gay man.
Yeah,
it's a lot that goes into that.
Be more specific.
And all that stuff.
Well, hold on, wait. I just want to say this. So Patrick and I, we're good friends, and we have, we share drinks regularly, and we have conversations about this. Like I'm learning a lot from Patrick, and we learn. I would think that you learn a little bit from me as well. But there's things that I have questions about. Like now, as a black straight man, I often encounter we both work in entertainment, and I encounter people, other straight individuals who, like, okay, if they are around a person who's gay, automatically sometimes they just kind of like follow suit and start acting
code switch.
I don't want to say
it's kind of the same thing as what we do when we're around people who don't look like us. It's kind of
that's a great point.
Like, it's actually a really good
assimilation.
Point.
Is there an acting gay? Like there is an acting white? Or
I don't want to talk for everyone.
No, correct. We're just posing the questions.
It does irk me when
I'm playing
people
devil's
say,
advocate again, people. Please don't get mad at me.
It does irk me when people say things like, "Oh, you're acting gay" and stuff like that, because I often ask, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to act gay? Because I'm just acting like myself.
But like when we're around our cousins, we act differently than when we're around our coworkers. You know what I mean? So it's a human nature to like
the code switching thing. I think is a kind of interesting way to say it, but I also think a valid way to say it. It's kind of, I often think like this, because I was in a fraternity with a lot of straight men and everything like that and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
so
Pat
most
played,
of my
I played football.
I played football.
Yeah,
I played football for like a lot and all that stuff. So my experience is different simply because like it was just like a brotherhood at that point. But what I could say is that oftentimes in my experience, what straight men do and also straight people do is that in order to make the person feel comfortable, especially as like the only person in the room, exactly. They try to find something. They try to find something to relate to you. They'll try to ask questions like, "So you like that guy?" All that stuff.
Right. It's like
it's like all that stuff, and it's like, and I somehow I think sometimes, especially as gay people, if we're not comfortable enough, we may kind of take that as something else and other than what it is of trying to make you comfortable.
Because everyone's so offended.
Exactly. Or we may take that as like, "Oh, they like me," and it's like, no, they're just trying to relate to you. It's like it's different.
Keep in mind, guys, this is still relatively new.
Yeah.
So like we are still learning as we go along.
I mean, the gay it's only about over 30 years old. Like most of us like literally were born when this all was happening.
Correct.
Like when it blew up and all that stuff.
We had like I was hanging out with Pat the other day and somebody that knew both of us made a comment like we were like, just asking questions just amongst, over libations, and this person made a comment like, "Oh, just wanting to pick our brains," and was like, have you been with a man before, Marco? Wait, what? You know what I mean? I think this person was prompted to do so because they might have seen the relationship I have with my friend Pat.
I get this all the time.
It's crazy though.
But everybody thinks I'm a lesbian and I'm the butch.
Really?
I'm like, okay, I guess.
Really?
But yes.
You ain't looking butch today though, son. You ain't looking butch today though.
But how ignorant is that though? How
ignorant
is that? Because like we as people will sit there and not judge, because I don't judge anyone until you tell me what you are and what everything is. I would be lying
if I could tell you.
If I could tell, yeah, exactly. And
society is ignorant as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to keep in mind.
But like I think we were talking about how things were back in the day, and I think the formality of social interaction and having manners is something that I miss that's like degrading over time, because like it's become comfortable with you to ask a stranger who they're sleeping with before you ask them.
That's completely
disrespectful. Their favorite food or their favorite color. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't go that far. We're not out here asking strangers.
Are you kidding me?
You're not super wrong.
App culture? Are you kidding me? People will ask you on apps. People would rather ask you more about like your penis size and what you do sexually rather than like,
but what kind of apps are these though?
It could be it could be a normal dating app. People are bold. That's what exactly. That's where we are now in culture.
Wait,
it's
a safety.
Like sex first before anything else.
But if it's a dating app, you want to know, hey, if I have to...
I disagree.
You want to get to know a person.
Hold on. You want to at least have one conversation that isn't sexual. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you can't get him.
I mean, yes, but like if I'm getting to know somebody, this is somebody who I could potentially be interesed in.
Yeah, at what point do you realize that you could be potentially interested? You have to have had a few conversations first.
Courtship? No, what happened to courtship? What happened to courtesy?
That's out too.
You know what's funny? It's funny that you mentioned that, because I am a homosexual man and I am only into men. But what's funny is that I will still treat every woman with respect, because that's how my mom raised me. And also,
we're talking about family values.
But like every woman that I see, I will always walk on the right side of the street with them. They will always go in the door first. They will always be held. And it's like, exactly. And the thing is, like, I'm not even interested in them of trying to get them to. I'm not trying to bed them or anything like that. It's just common courtesy. And I understand that that's a very old school view of like courtship and all that stuff and like what people do. But I still think that women need to be put on a pedestal as to what they are. They are queens. They are everything and stuff like that.
I appreciate that.
It's just what it is. And what's crazy is that back to the app culture and back to everything in general, we have lost that, because it's more about what can you do for me? How can you make me feel good?
How can I get more followers?
What about you? Exactly.
Good morning.
What are you doing?
I have a question. I have a couple questions for you. But do you feel to me, sometimes I feel like gay men feel like they don't have to respect women because we're not on their sphere.
I will agree with that to a certain degree.
And I see sometimes just like manners being tossed out the door because it's a woman.
Not for nothing. Gay men be copping mad feels. And I'm like,
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm guilty of that.
I'm dead.
No, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that.
No,
meaning
like a gay man be like, girl, your breasts look amazing.
Oh, true.
I'm guilty of that.
I'm not mad at it.
I'm guilty of that. Yo, listen, boobs
I
are
love
fun.
my gay man friends.
Listen,
I love my gay man friends.
Boobs are fun.
Right.
I agree, but
I don't agree.
You can't touch.
I'm the one who actually wants them.
You gotta wait.
I'm like, girl, move those up a little bit, put them together, show them how they really
I would
look.
hope that you want me to touch them at some point.
Hilarious. That is funny. That's a hilarious point. But I want to move back for a second because I think I'm the only one that actually is in the classroom every day with these little runts out here. And I mean, because I tell you, but like these kids are, I'm sorry, they're the lost generation. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're a lost cause right now. And it is the phone culture. And being in the classroom, look, you never respected a substitute teacher, fine. But like typically, I've never had a problem. Like no fights in my classroom. I've been long-term sub. I look like their older sister, not even that much older. I look 12. They all think I'm a new student. But they don't even nod at my existence.
Right.
Okay? They're in AirPods and on the phone. So they don't know how to communicate aloud, let alone have the time for manners. I hold the door open. I don't even get to look up. Yeah. They're watching full on movies. And I'm like, yo, do you do this in your classroom when you have a teacher? Yeah, as long as I have my worksheet done, it's fine.
That's insane.
So it's not just me. It's around the situation. And I'm in Bergen County, which is a really great academic educational system in New Jersey, so sus. And I will go ahead and say that around the country, it's probably, if it's not,
it's probably the same.
It's definitely on the coastlines, and it's moving inward. And inward, you have homeschooling and no resources and what have you. So no one knows how to communicate.
No.
Right.
And so it's easier to just be within the blanket of your tribe, which is why we can be, well, I'm this, so I must be anti that. It's easier than to figure out what you do believe because people don't know how to like navigate that space anymore.
See, part of me thinks like in our society now, and I guess we can even relate it to the gay community, that like we are about to explode, like something big. Like sometimes you got a pimple, you got to pop it before it gets better.
That analogy, but yes, yep.
It's visual. I'm sorry, I'm so visual, but it feels like that's about to happen, so things can get better. And I feel bad for the generation coming. Like I've kind of felt bad for my generation, but like my child and her classmates is gonna be bad. But I feel like hopefully soon things will be better, because we were talking before in one of the podcasts about like androgyny, and it's something that I appreciate.
Yeah,
I appreciate that because I was thinking about this podcast, and we're talking about emasculation, right? About this concept of taking this toxic masculinity away from men, and I feel like emasculation is bad. Like, it's negative to the feminine experience, if you can follow me. Because in order to be a woman in this modern age, you have to be able to achieve some sort of power. We can't continue in the ways of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We have to evolve. But we cannot evolve in this state of machoism, right? And I do believe, in a sense, like homosexuality being more accepted makes a way for women to be more accepted too, because it's just mind expanding. Like people are bending and flexing their minds to just be more open and accepting. So in a sense, we have to, like, men may start to become more feminine. You know what I mean?
I'm just interested in that.
I challenge you though, because I often think that sometimes we think that homosexuality or flamboyant behavior from men is more accepted in the spaces that we tend to lead to, in a sense of like, we are in New York City. We are in a city that is very kind of effervescent with a lot of different things. And I often sometimes think that we're so far ahead because of the bubble that I'm in sometimes. And then you read the stories of things happening in other states or other countries and stuff like that in regards to like not being able to do this and not being able to do that. And it kind of opens my mind up to the idea of that, like, just because we think that we're so far ahead and just because we are on trend right now, there's not so many people that really think how we think. And I think that's in a lot of different things. And I'm happy with all of our progression because I'm a part of it and I get to benefit from it. But I often think that, am I being able to be so effervescent and be out and all that stuff because of the space that I allow myself to be in.
The safety bubble?
Yeah. I'm not moving to Mississippi tomorrow.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm not doing that is because, for one, I'm Black, and for two, I'm gay.
Right.
And
So no thanks.
I don't know how I will be accepted there.
Wow.
One of my really good friends, she teaches in Oklahoma, and she literally says there are, a lot of Confederate flags around. There's not really a lot of she tells me about local stories that happen there. I wouldn't want to put myself in that situation. She is. And it makes me think that how is it more so that we're saying how far we are because of what we gravitate toward, what we experience, what we seek out to watch, and what we try to surround ourselves with, because there's a big part of this country that control most of this country that don't really accept a lot of what we're preaching out.
You're right.
And that's why I always on a coast.
Yeah, and that's why I always kind of that's what I always try to go back and forth with, in a sense of are we? Because I agree with you. I think it's great the progression that we're doing and kind of where we are. There's people on TV that are starting to look like me, and people are starting to represent all that stuff. But with that being said, is it just the people that I like? Is it just the people that I'm following? I would love to know what other people are kind of thinking and stuff.
Yeah. I try to be optimistic, and I think I thank you for giving me that reality check, because I tend to enjoy my bubble.
But you should, though. But meaning you should seek out your happiness.
Right.
That's what we all should do. We should all surround ourselves with that.
Right. And I think also we have to acknowledge the small amount of movement, whether it be for Black people, gay people, transgender, just marginalized people in general, the small amount of progress. There's a future, and we hope, unlike what's going on under our administration now, we hope this is a capsulation and is not headed towards Handmaid's Tale up in this bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hope we don't go back
Which is a reference, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's a reference to literally crazy 1984
but everyone
ridiculousness.
Keeps saying that's where it's going to end up.
I don't think so. But I think it's a great point. And I just lost the point. What was the point? The point was there. You said it.
We're talking about femination, androgyny,
Handmaid's Tale,
optimism.
It's gone.
It'll come back at the most opportune time.
I'm only drinking water. No. Okay. LOL. I don't even remember where I was going. It's gone now.
But now, Patrick, have you experienced people experienced situations where you felt that, okay, this particular individual was kind of just forcing people around them to either accept, forcing people to accept the way they are by just, I don't want to say shoving it down their throat.
Although.
But
hyper homosexuality in a sense?
I guess you could phrase it like that. I mean, let's say this, working in entertainment, right? When you work in entertainment, you're around all different types of people, right? There's a high number of homosexuals in entertainment.
100%.
Yeah. Now, I've encountered it for as long as I can remember. I have no issue with it. But I also realize that I'm a straight man, and I'm always going to be a straight man. So, with that being said, do you feel that there's any pressure that a straight man and a gay man or a gay person have to endure just from being in the same career, the same space, and just interacting with each other?
I think it depends on the situation. I think it definitely, the optimist in me was everything should be based off of merit and everything should be based off of what people bring to the table.
I agree.
But the reality of it is that really doesn't happen.
You brought up a great point, because it's okay, every group will realize how can I further my group?
How can I advantage? Yeah.
How can I further my group? Yeah. So, everybody has had that conversation with themselves and say, okay, well, I want, the general public to be more accepting of the plight of people of color. So, so.
We're on the woman rise now, I would say. We're on the
uprise. Trending. Women are trending.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that that's what we're saying, but because it should never really be a conversation, but that's where we are. Women are getting CEO jobs, and everyone's it should be all equal, and gender should we shouldn't get the women shouldn't get 30% on the dollar. It should be everyone should be equal, and we should all be paid the same.
I think the topic of trans, whether they're gaining rights or not, may be a different topic, but I think the topic of acknowledgement, I would say,
I think
is here.
Being a trans person, I would say, is one of the hardest things in the world to ever be. Because and the reason why I will say that is because just the plight of understanding what you're becoming and being in a body that you don't even understand, on top of having to deal with the public aspect of everything, I think is one of the hardest things that anyone could ever have to deal with.
True.
I don't know that feeling. I don't think I'll ever feel that feeling because I don't consider myself a trans person. I am a man and I like being a man, but I will... And I have we're not close friends, but I do know someone in my life that has transitioned. And just to deal with that, and I think through her transition, she has become a different person. And by doing that, sometimes you lose the people that you've known before as the person that you once were. With that being said, I don't understand that plight, but I do think that is one of the hardest things in workspace and in every aspect of everything, because you're telling yourself that you don't understand yourself, and now you're telling the world to accept the new you.
Right.
And that, I think, is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
To harken back to what you said about the workspace in regards to being gay, straight, everything like that, I think it is an interesting thing to discuss, because I do think that sometimes people do use sexuality or anything to get essentially what it is that they want, whether you're
straight, gay,
whether you're straight
correct.
or anything. If you're incredibly flamboyant, you may be more liked by women who are at the lead, and they may be like, let's use that person because they're so friendly and all that stuff. If you are in a space where it's sports related, you may want to butch up a little bit to kind of like get all that stuff. It would be great if people, especially in our industry that we work in, could kind of understand what it is that you bring to the table. But it's a very vapid and vain world, and you kind of have to play the game in order to kind of get what you want. And I think, we could bring race into it too. We all do that too. Like, we all do what we have to do in order to get ahead. But what we do need to do,
I just paused you.
what we do need to do is not lose ourselves in what it is that we're doing, because it's okay to play the game, but don't get lost.
But see, I feel like that's what's starting to happen.
I think we're in it.
People are losing themselves because now, like, as a straight man, the questions that I have, like, I'm gonna play straight ignorant man. Okay. Me being a straight, ignorant man. I'm not, but okay. Let me just say it.
No, it's a hypothetical.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. A man who is gay likes or is into other men. Correct? So, from the outside looking in, I'm going to say he would like a manly man or be with a manly man.
I understand what you're saying.
But from what I see, oftentimes, in my opinion, I see men with very feminine, or what we know to be feminine characteristics and qualities.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are you, like, if you're a man and you're into men, why wouldn't you try to seek out the most manly of men? As opposed, like, this is me. I'm speaking for the ignorant man.
I was gonna say, I'm happy that you said ignorant, because I was gonna.
I'm speaking for the ignorant man because, and same thing with women. Like, okay, a woman who is into women, right? I would say, hey, an ignorant man would say, I am looking. I would want to see a woman who's into women looking for
another female that's very feminine, beautiful,
right? Whatever,
makeup,
and that is whatever the media machine has told us is beautiful, and so on.
Thank you for saying machine, because that is
my conspiratorial.
You can take this because I have many thoughts on what it is that you just said. Because please, just go.
But then
I just want to make sure I'm saying the right thing.
Wait, I missed it. What did you say?
No, the media machine. The propaganda machine that we live in.
But then you end up seeing, people like, okay, I'll see a female end up being with another female who looks like me. And I'm like, are you into women? Or okay, so I'm just
I would rather you say something.
Please talk.
I have thoughts.
I have various thoughts, but one of them, I think that validates the idea that there is a gender spectrum, right? And that okay, so the idea of gender fluidity is also something that I have been struggling with, because I'm like, but we've always been told, but that's where the struggle is, right? Because the machine has always told us that there's binaries, because science says binaries. But here's the thing about science is that shit changes every few years anyway.
Based on who's running the study.
Coconut oil wasn't good before, now that shit is good. You know what I mean? You used to be able to smoke cigarettes when
thing when you're pregnant. Yeah.
And now, oh my God, you can't, right? So
and drink and all that.
If we already know that to be true, then we can understand that if there's a gender spectrum, and with gender that probably dictates maybe how you
Pause.
how it dictates
I like the pun.
how you dress, how you want to be perceived by the world. And then if you want to see the world mirrored in you, you want to see what they see of you, because then you're doing a good job. You want to ensure that what you're doing to do that is balanced. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you are very feminine. And you evoke a very feminine look, and that's what you look like. You are a straight woman, and I would have thought that from minute one.
I appreciate
you
that.
are a burly, macho, well-spoken, educated. Yeah, burly. I don't know, burly. I was like, the hair.
Yeah.
It's like, you are not to be confused with anything other than a straight man. Like that. That's what
funny.
I see.
That's great. But I've had people in my past question my sexuality.
Well, they're nervous about the hat.
Marco's
They're nervous about the chains.
He's a little glitzy.
I think because you're New Yorked up, right? So you're okay with your masculinity that you can
wear jewelry,
experiment
with
wearing salmon.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I know wearing exactly.
What is it called? Like metrosexual.
Yeah.
So like
Hey,
those are things that you may have subconsciously chosen while you were being raised by whatever it is that raised you.
You hit the nail on the head. I think it's just a societal standpoint, or like the nature versus nurture idea of what masculinity, femininity is. Essentially, because like to me, a man in 10-inch heels walking down the street is the manliest man I've ever seen.
Wow.
The reason with that courage.
Thank you. With that courage. And I think the idea of what we think masculinity is or what femininity is
another label. It's bullshit. It's another label.
It's bullshit because it's essentially saying that like this is what men are and this is what women are. And just because a man who is attracted to men is attracted to a man that wears heels doesn't mean that he wants to be essentially with a woman. It just means that he finds that attractive.
He likes a man who wears heels.
We have to take that idea of what masculinity is and what femininity is, and then we'll be in a better place.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm attracted to what I'm attracted to, but also at the same time, I don't take away from the idea of a man that likes to wear corsets or a man that has likes to have a full beat. Because to me, I'm just like, you have more courage to do that than I do. It's not my thing, but you working it like you killing it, so you better work. You better work.
Bring up my beautiful black man in sex education who, when he was putting on his makeup in his room and his father walked in. That's the scene of our times, and shocker, British TV at it again. Just better
on top of
BBC.
Just better.
They are.
But they're always ahead of the curve. They're always like, I'm like, why can't we be there?
No,
like we have the money, we have the time, we have the intelligence.
That show is what should be watched by our youth, and honestly, by the entire society in this
Everyone
country.
should watch it.
To be
mandatory.
I also want to say one more thing. I do think. This is up for grabs here, but I do think that gay ... or lesbian ... are people that are more able to truly fit and align with their identity, because that is what they are and they know this to be true. And maybe it has to do with like that we're in the 30, 40 year rise of understanding this and being okay with being outward with that and those things. Whereas those of us that are more normed, okay, that's the default. And so because it's defaulted, we are now in this place where we're trying to figure out our identity. We're confused by your complete and utter understanding of who you are.
So do you think that, because I wanted to put this question out there, do you think that, it sounds like most people who know they're gay or lesbian feel like they were born that way, but do you feel like it could be a decision also?
Think about it.
I don't think this was a decision for me, because I think that I didn't understand what was happening. I just knew that I wasn't what I guess everyone else was. Like I could say like I knew I was into, I don't know, I wouldn't say I knew that I was gay at 4, but I knew I was into feminine things.
Okay.
But so I don't even want to say that, but I knew that I like to do like, I
different
wanted to be,
shit.
How did you know? Please tell me.
I wanted to be, I don't know. I just wanted to be the Pink Ranger. I wanted to be like girly and all that stuff. And I don't know if I didn't want it. I don't know if that was me wanting to be a girl. I don't know what that was.
Okay.
It didn't say, but I understood what gay was when I was like 12. And I was kind of like, is this what I am? Because I found myself attracted to men. I found myself really, feeling things for men, and certain things started happening.
Did you have anyone to talk to?
No, I didn't know who to talk to.
Do you feel like
your
mom? Do you feel like your mom knew?
My mom knew.
Because I have a daughter and she's very hetero.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if she.
My mom put me in theater because she knew. She was like, he needs
an outlet. I was in theater.
Alive by your mom.
My mom was like, he needs an outlet. And then my dad at the same time put me in football because he was like, he needs to butch up.
Okay.
And thankfully I liked both things, but also at the same time I feel like my mom knew because when I came out to my mom, I was like, she's like, I don't care. Let's just.
She's like, duh.
It was kind of like nothing else.
I think moms know.
I do think that moms always know. Moms always know something's up because even when I still remember when I was 16 and my mom found like gay porn in my shorts.
Oh my god!
And then she was like, "Whose is this?" And I was like, "It's my friends at school."
Right,
and she's like, "Okay, all right. So you can talk to your friend tomorrow about it and just tell them not to put this in your shorts that were in your room while you were at school. But talk to your friends."
Right. And you're like, trying to be in denial, right?
And we never talked about it again. And then when I was 18 and I came out and she was like,
come on. The signs were there.
She was like,
it's pretty good parenting, I have to say. I have to give her some kudos right there.
My mom is great.
You learned in the reverse there. You're like, oh.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to this day, my mom is just like, she just wants to make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. She just wants to make sure I'm safe. She wants to make sure I'm okay and all that stuff.
Type of parenting to have, and you're very much blessed.
Thank you.
To have that.
Because I don't know the other experience.
Well,
I've heard stories,
I've been listening to some experiences and a lot of
you, I would say that probably that.
Well, I know a lot of people who deal with like a different experience, but I just personally don't know that because I didn't have to deal with that.
Which is great.
Yeah, I thank you. I was very blessed and I'm very appreciative of it because it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking to hear the stories. In my research, I was very saddened by especially a lot of the children who grew up in religious households. And this is one of the topics I want to touch on too, where you're brought up in religious households when you're young. Jesus love all the children of the world. That's one of my first little Christian songs I learned. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to believe in God because everyone is covered by this umbrella. Yeah. There's no hate in the world. And then you start to grow up and then this, this little comfortable bubble that you're in as far as being religious tells you that you're evil and that you weren't made from God and you represent the devil and conversion therapy and all of that and all the things that the gay agenda is saying that gayness brings and I can't imagine like being gay and coming from a Christian household and like I heard a story about like a parent went and they started to like with a loud horn speak against homosexuality in front of their child's classroom and just craziness and I can't
But what happens the thing I understand is like you say you love your kid and then something like this happens. What happens
it's
to
conditional.
That love? But what happens to that love
is
that
conditional out here these days.
Right? It's like what happens to that love? It's like, oh so I'm gay.
Yeah,
it's like you're a disgrace.
Kidding.
It's like but what happened to that love that was there 2 minutes before I told you this?
I don't think the love isn't there. I think they make fitting into society or their community a priority over loving their children. Yeah.
Look, and I'll say something about this Catholic Church.
Ooh,
aside from the propaganda machine that it is, I'll just side note that. But that plus segue into your previous point about if people choose to be gay or lesbian, I do think that there's a space for that to be understood because even on a very microcosmic scale, right?
I do agree with you.
I think that there's a space for that to be true. If you have grown up in a place where maybe there was a void of understanding your identity.
Sort of void.
So if you didn't grow up culturally and you didn't grow up with some things of understanding, I am this sort of woman, I am this sort, right? So now you're kind of seeking when you're a kid and you're trying to, and growing up in the Catholic Church, my mom's Irish, so Irish Catholicism is like all about resentment and not forgiving and, it's really harsh. But I was 7. I was in the choir. I went to CCD every day or whenever the hell you go.
We were there.
And they told me my voice was too deep. I had to sit with the boys.
What?
And I will never, that's something everybody in my life knows, but thank you. But it took, can you imagine how long it's taken for me to accept this voice?
Wow.
And then for then people to tell me, oh, you're androgynous. I love it. It's hot. Ooh, you're the butch, right? It's perpetuated, says people to me.
Wow.
So if I go back to how I want to be mirrored from society, then I'm not really helping myself out.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Now
you look feminine to me. You look
now
feminine.
I'm into it. But growing up and being in college, oh my God.
No,
and I was an athlete.
And not that you should have to validate it though.
But I would. So I was like, maybe I may as well be a lesbian because it's easier and everyone told me that I should be.
But
so
it's the
fine.
same thing. It's like I tried to, like when I play football, I was like, I'm going to bro out and I'm going to do all these things.
Yep.
I'm just going to be like,
straight
I'm going to try to be straight. Meanwhile, my voice is like the highest in the world. And I'm just like, before like all the yes happen. But with that being said, it's just like you condition yourself to do these things in order to form, like to live with society,
assimilate,
and all that stuff. It's like, well, I want to be masculine, so I'm going to be masculine.
Right.
Whereas now, I would be like, I'm putting on some boom boom shorts and going.
Right.
And I'm out.
Have you seen or experienced a person that was gay, like really trying to convince someone that was straight
Absolutely.
that they were gay? Or
Yep.
Yes.
you've seen that?
Yes.
Athletes
Okay.
in college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially
Any bar
female
in Hell's
athletes.
Kitchen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hell's Kitchen.
LOL at Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, people need to hear that. So
well,
Yeah.
There's a thing that I've seen when I was in high school, and I also kind of have heard from some parents that like the high school girls basketball scene is very like
stereotypes.
turn outy.
Mhm.
But I remember seeing it in my high school where there were I guess it's experimentation, but there was like this competition for girls to conquer girls, and they were competing with the boys, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this? I've never seen it or heard of it.
Where'd you grow up?
Philly.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. It just makes me curious that for
I've
some
heard
people,
that as well.
For
I've
some
heard
people,
that.
it is a game, or for some
But
people,
it's not just basketball.
yeah,
Soccer.
Well, yeah.
Lacrosse.
Softball.
So there's
Softball.
like there are like cultures within these little
Yes.
umbrellas where.
Mhm.
Is it the coaches that perpetuate it, or do girls just kind of know and then they go seek towards it? Like what? Like
Well, then it makes you
Where
think
does
if there
it
was only
start?
if there was only one sex in a room, right? If there was only one sort of sex in a room, people are going to be attracted to that one,
What are you
right?
going to do?
So if you're in a group where you're watching everybody together sweat and like work hard and like maybe you
you're making
attracted
it
to
sound
just people.
sexy.
Well, you
Damn.
just you know what I'm
But
saying?
it's not a
You
group.
watch
It's
people
just your
do
team.
well.
You're
It's
right.
just your team. Like you still have the whole world outside of your team. So,
Well, I agree. When I played football for 10 years, I wasn't really attracted to any of my teammates. It was just different for me. It was just more like we are a
like
team.
brothers.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I probably should have. No, but with that being said, it was just more of a sport to me. It was kind of more of what we played sports,
hobby.
and that's all we
Yeah.
did. It was like we were a team.
But by that point, you completely knew that you were getting what you liked.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
you knew that you were
Exactly.
getting what you liked, and you
Right.
weren't attracted to anybody on your team.
That's a lie. I would say that's a lie, but there was nothing that I would pursue,
Act
not
on.
knowing
Okay.
Yeah.
that. And just to harken back to even the topic at hand, that's what I think equates what essentially this agenda is. It's like what you do with the attraction in regards to pursuing
Yep.
the opposite
Right.
sexuality of you. Because
Yeah.
like the thing is that me as a gay man, have I had experiences with straight guys?
Mhm.
Yeah, I would
Hold
be lying.
on.
Ooh.
Wait.
LOL.
Let me pause it real quick. See? Okay. So
Tell me more.
you have had experiences with straight guys. Now, let me pose, I'm going to speak for the ignorant man again.
Mm.
If you've had experiences with a straight guy,
Is
they're
he
not straight.
I don't know.
Experimentation.
I 100% agree with that. Simply because I think for me being gay is that I know that I want to be with a man. I'm going to end up with a man. I like to sleep with a man and everything like that.
Mhm.
Me as someone who was 21, 22 when I slept with this person at the time who was living a straight life, to me, they could have just been trying to figure themselves out.
Mhm.
And they may have just been kind of just, seeing if they like this and if they don't like this. And I think oftentimes we equate like homosexuality with just sleeping with
An
men
experience,
and,
yeah.
and just not experience. And I think it's the same thing as just kind of like understanding what your preference is at the time.
Or curiosity.
And unfortunately, in situations like that, the gay person usually gets hurt because who identifies as gay,
Right.
who's dealing with the straight person and
Right.
pursuing the straight person, you're often somehow wanting them to kind of like get on your team when in actuality they may just be trying
Change
to
their
figure it
mind.
out.
And here's when the
Yeah.
conversion
when
conversation
it exactly,
comes up.
and then when it happens, they're like, I don't ever want to do this again.
Right.
Mhm.
But I tried it because I just didn't know, and now that I know that I want to live the rest of my life not sleeping with men.
Wow.
And I think that within itself is, I think more people should kind of talk about that stuff, and more people should be open.
I think there are a
with that
lot more
stuff.
men that do experience that
There's
don't
a lot of people
speak
that
on it.
There's a lot of people that went to college.
God.
There's a lot of
But also-
things
I think that come
happen.
with that.
Let's not also
there's stigmas.
let's not hate on the individuals who know that they don't want to
Yeah.
do that.
No.
And like, cause like people,
But see, that's my problem though. That's my
Mhm.
problem with like when people bring up the gay agenda and when gay men start pursuing things like that, when you know someone's not interested and you know someone is telling you that they're straight and you're somehow trying to turn them and convince them that like it's just like the same thing.
It's the thing that women go through a lot
Yeah.
too, though. And
I'm
think,
sure, like,
and
if a woman
Tell
tries,
her,
if you're an attractive woman and another woman is like interested in you, it's kind of just like, hold on, like, thank you for the compliment, but that's.
I mean,
there's a
I was
line.
like, I'm like, yo, she cute.
Yeah.
I can appreciate a bush looking girl or a really hot looking girl. I'm like, I don't know. You talk about the continuum. I was like, I've never done it, but
appreciate
Lena Waithe. She like Lena Waithe, girl. She like, yo, Lena though.
Real talk, appreciation is different than actually trying to have date this person.
Right.
Because real talk,
you're right.
being an athlete, being in entertainment.
You are?
Listen.
LOL.
No, but facts. You look up to certain individuals. Any guy who is a bodybuilder looks at another guy's body and says, I like his body. Now, I'm trying to emulate that situation. So you say that you can find the beauty in an individual without actually being attracted.
Sexually attracted.
So all day,
yeah.
I think everybody here is an attractive individual.
Right.
I can say that. Now, me finding them attractive is totally different. You know, so you have to.
I have to pay attention to my body a little bit more. Like, am I juicing? Does she?
I'm dead. But also true. That's why you should track, ladies. Anyway. Track your cycle so you can be more in tune with your body.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. No, you're right.
I'm out here.
I gotta start doing that.
Hey, so you know what's
temperature.
going on.
What is it called? Your basal temperature.
Basal body temperature.
Basil?
I take my temperature every morning.
What is going on here?
Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
It's only women don't understand. I wonder if men go through something like that, like a cycle.
They do. But what is, I think, yes, that you do.
Yeah.
But what is interesting?
Tell me about me?
No, we do.
I read books on this.
Really?
They don't know. We do.
I think what you mentioned earlier in that there are more men that probably go through this aspect than they say, sure.
Okay.
You could even probably say, of course.
And they won't even admit it.
Because they won't admit it because the stigma and
correct.
You're gay.
Kids are still saying, oh, no homo. Right?
Right.
So as long as
It
we have
happens.
that.
No,
as long as we have that.
I mean, I don't want to reference a television show. It happened on Insecure, like with Molly and that guy
Yes, I know. That was
who had a vulnerable moment with him saying like, oh, he just blew me, and that was it. And then all of a sudden, she immediately thought he was gay. It was just like maybe he just, and he said he had that experience and didn't like it after that.
Right.
And why is that still a taboo
she was tripping.
thing?
Sorry, Mom.
But it's
society.
I just wanted to follow up quickly and say that with women and for women, it's much more acceptable.
It is way more acceptable.
100%.
Me saying I don't really know because I've always attracted women because they think I'm androgynous, so they're like, I don't know, but they're always straight.
Yeah.
And they maintain their straightness,
and they just want to have a little
fun.
Maybe
they're interested in like
you
testing
being
this out.
In you,
yes. So that's always been my situation, and it's been fine for me because I'm not trying to have a relationship with a woman, but I'm cool.
You down?
You feel me with going down often.
Of course, yeah.
That's fine with me. You don't have to return. Okay. I'm cool with that as well.
Know high five.
What? I'm like cool with that.
We see each other.
Yes. But that's way more acceptable for me to just
no, of course.
Any room full of people.
No, I hear you.
I see you as a feminine
Shit, my
woman.
parents know.
That's great.
I know they know. I know how you are. But
I see you as feminine because I was going to ask you, like, do women just approach you? Is that how it happens, or do you kind of be like, hey?
No.
Okay.
I think it's also like the type of man, like a strong man will find a strong woman attractive.
I know some strong gay men. I wish you were gay.
I also know some strong men that find me attractive. Yeah. And then they're like straight.
I know some strong gay men and I find
just
them
like,
attractive.
Thank
you. Yeah.
Bye.
Old Patrick, maybe. This Patrick,
wait. So do you think when straight guys do that, do you think they just want you to want them?
Yeah,
it's like a game.
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of both. I think they do like their ego to be stroked. I think they want to feel attractive because what man doesn't? We all have egos and stuff like that.
What person doesn't?
But agreed. Thank you. What person doesn't? But I do know that in my experience, especially being kind of the gay man that I am, I do have straight men hit on me to the point that I'm just like, we're good. Like, and I don't want to sound arrogant when I say that, but I do know that exists.
But
and
I feel
they
like
get comfortable.
that's an agenda.
Yeah.
But you don't know if they're trying to invite you to the club bathroom and hit you.
Yeah.
Or, that's a dangerous place.
Or when you have a prestigious position, like, are they trying to like rub elbows with you and like profit off of you in a sense?
I often think it's because I always say that I'm like the straight gay man, and it's so weird to say that out loud because
because you're not flamboyant. You're not flamboyant.
I am though. Like I watch like Drag Race and all that stuff, but I also watch like football every Sunday and all that stuff. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I'm not like out here wearing makeup and all that stuff, and I do think that straight men find a comfortability with that, and then sometimes depending on the straight man, once they're comfortable, they kind of be like, maybe I should just like try this for the first time, and then that's when I'm just like, we good, love, enjoy. But there was once a point when that wasn't my life.
Sure.
There was once a point when I was kind of like, maybe I'll try this.
Right. Yeah.
And then what happens is you get hurt a couple of times, and so you're just like, why are you doing this to yourself?
I have this theory. I'm gonna change the subject, but I have this theory that now that homosexuality is becoming more, I feel weird saying homosexuality. I just feel like gender fluidity is becoming more accepted. Mm-hmm. I feel like, actually, like, part of me is like giggling inside because I was like, straight men are finally gonna know what it feels like to be bothered on the street. Yeah. And they're gonna stop that shit.
You know, especially with what you do.
I don't care about that.
Part of me like really thinks that it's gonna like balance the scales, not for everybody, and I know this train is moving really slow, but part of me makes me really glad that men are starting to be like, yo, dude was trying to hit on me. I was like, well, that's how girls feel when y'all turn around and say damn every 2 seconds or ooh, ow. Like, that's how we feel, the objectification of it all.
Why does that matter
I mean?
so much to you?
I don't, because
yeah, why does it matter? That's a good question.
Because I've experienced, I guess, a certain level of harassment is almost traumatic. And I'm not sure if I'm just I would admit I am very sensitive to it. And I think a lot of men straight men don't understand how it feels until it happens to them. So I just appreciate that this lesson might be felt by more men now. Whereas before,
it's
they might not have
It's almost like putting the mirror on them saying, like, this is what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds evil and it's petty, but I'm okay with that.
But you can't help how you feel.
Yeah, that's how
you feel.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And I agree. I don't think it's evil. I think it's evil. I think there's definitely justification. What is it you're saying? It's kind of like leveling out the playing field, as you said.
And it might positively affect rape culture. And a lot of other things that come with this, like machoism culture.
It is funny though, because I don't want to like trickle back to this, but speaking of the whole rape culture thing, when I had my first experience with a guy that identified as straight when I was in my early 20s, which is over a decade now, they felt a little less of a man to the point that they felt that they were somehow manipulated into doing it. Oh. So they kind of got the feeling of what I think a lot of sometimes women feel when they're kind of in those situations. I don't want to say the word rape was used, but I think he kind of accused me of taking advantage of him at a vulnerable moment when in actuality, he did everything that he wanted to do.
He gave you none of the indications that he didn't want to.
But I think that looking back, I sympathize with him because I understand where it was coming from. We were both young. We were both inexperienced, and we kind of just did what we did because we were both kind of figuring it out. It was like
an impulse in a sense.
But I would be lying if I said I wasn't into it. Like, you know, it's almost like...
Or a little aggressive.
Yeah, because I knew...
Into the fact that he was a straight man.
Yeah. It was like I kind of... Because we were friends for a couple years, and I always found him like attractive and whatnot. So when it happened, I was happy about it. But it was just more about, and then I didn't expect his reaction to be what it was. But looking back, especially like growing and knowing who I am now, I understand where that reaction came from. Yeah. But it is interesting because it's interesting that you mentioned that whole rape culture thing, because looking back, it almost kind of made him sympathetic. And I weirdly, I think it almost made him a little bit better of a man based off of what happened, to understand kind of that feeling.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. That was a very powerful, like...
You have to live in your truth, because like at the end of the day, like no one's perfect. And I think the reason why I'm so happy that we're having this conversation is because, you know, I can't throw stones when I live in a glass house. Like we all have a past.
Right.
We all have things. I'm a different person now, and I believe in involving, and I would never do anything like that now. I'm not even interested in that. Simply because... You
feel like it's your responsibility in a sense to not... kind of open yourself up to straight guys who are curious, because you understand the damage.
Yeah. It's like you also kind of have to know... And like you kind of have to know what you're doing in my situation. I always make the joke, and people never understand. I was like, a straight man will never know what to do with his body the way that I wanted it to be done, because you have to be really into men to understand what it is for me to like and all that stuff. Yeah. And if you're just trying to experiment, it's not going to be fun for me, because I'm not trying to teach you anything.
Yeah.
I need you to get it. But I think that also comes with time.
That's why I don't date young guy.
No, but I also think that comes with time. But I also think that there are people all of our ages that still think that it's fun and somehow what they need to do, you know, and it's unfortunate, but that kind of perpetuates a lot of what people think about gay people, in a sense of like trying to turn everyone and trying to like somehow put them on their team and all that stuff. And that's why I often
out people.
And that's why I often get upset when I see people doing that. I'm just like, why are you doing that? Like, there's someone out there for everyone. It may not be right now, but you'll figure it out. And they'll be gay and they'll be into you.
Guys, I want to ask everybody at the table this question. Do you feel that Hollywood has a homosexual agenda? Like,
yes.
Okay. I mean, obviously we are in the most accepting time that we've ever been in.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, quote unquote. But
I agree with that. Yes, yeah.
Think about it for a moment. Does Hollywood have a homosexual agenda? Now,
I think they just have an accepting agenda. Like everything is fine.
I think they have a sexual. Wait, first of all, it comes from money. What makes money? Controversy makes money. Sex is the best, most controversial topic, but the newness of homosexuality is very controversial, so they're gonna jump on it.
I love Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones had incest, it had homosexuality, but it didn't have that many people of color.
Well, back in time.
Agreed. And the person that they did have got killed the episode before the last. Well, 2 episodes, whatever.
Grey Worm survived. Okay.
Let's not get into that, because that's like a different conversation. Thing, and it just ended. So I think
everybody ain't caught up yet.
Yeah.
I think that the Hollywood agenda is that, again, it's
inclusivity, maybe.
I think that it's cool for women to experiment and be lesbians. Miley Cyrus is queer.
Okay.
Kristen Stewart is a lesbian.
Wait, Miley came out?
No, Miley identifies as queer.
Oh, does she?
She
I didn't know
says
that
she's married to a man, but she's admitted and outwardly talks about being.
And that's my boo. And if Miley ever hears this, I'm trying to be your best friend, so it's cool. But like into you,
she's cute.
But like we can go down the list.
Cara Delevingne, I was going to Cara Delevingne, and Sarah Ramirez, who's on. Yeah, yeah.
But men, and look,
we can talk.
Y'all are in like it more than I am, but
we can talk.
There are some closeted men up in Hollywood, and they cannot be out here, and they're getting 100%. Married on Page 6, letting everyone know that they're in a heterosexual marriage.
Because it's still, I think, taboo. Seen differently.
And I believe that Hollywood is perpetuating this divide.
Think about it this way. You just actually make a good point. Name a gay actor or singer that is popular to the point of just like no return. There used to be Sam Smith, but he's not as popular as he once was.
Jesse's out.
Oh, not of color. You said of color?
Jesse's out. Out. Canceled.
Just gone. Canceled.
Poor Jesse.
Nope. He was out here acting absolutely foolish.
Get your facts straight.
Right. You got to do
Speak
better.
Speak your truth. Exactly. I mean Elton John, yeah, but like I mean think about someone in the I guess in the mainstream.
The guy in my family, which I've never seen.
Who?
Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
That's
the redhead.
I think. See, I don't even know his name, so that furthers your point.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like things like that, like
that are completely out.
Yeah, I'm like, who's the Jennifer Aniston of our culture besides like Ellen DeGeneres? Well, she's a lesbian, but like also like
women.
It's like women.
It's fine.
Like who's the big gay male right now that's like actually doing something and actually in the forefront.
The guy in the news. What's his name?
No, the guy from American Horror Story, Matt Bomer. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ricky Martin.
Ricky Martin. But would you even consider them on the level of? I mean, I guess mainstream media knows them
right now.
Mainstream media knows them.
I can't name anything.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And if you're right, but
Don Lemon.
Yeah.
But even if you want to like bring that,
is Van
Van who? Ooh, catch that. He's not.
Yikes!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hollywood.
I'm sorry.
Don't watch this. I watch. No, but with that being said, if you even want to bring the race aspect into it, there's no real gay black men that are really kind of in the forefront. I always say, which is crazy, is that as a gay black man, there's no one really, and that's why, like in the industry that I work, I'm trying to create those stories and trying to put forward things for people like who look like me and follow like believe in this aspect of it. I'm trying to put those stories forward, and that's what I'm hoping to work toward and do because there's really not much of that. I do know that Issa Rae is working on a show now that's going to do that, which I'm very excited about.
Issa,
she's having a gay black male lead kind of led show, which I think is going to be great. It's going to be on HBO. I don't know when that's coming out. I don't know, but
this also
great.
begs the question of like even a film like Moonlight.
Yeah. We talked about that situation.
He's not even gay.
Yeah.
Can you get a gay man to have a gay role?
Yeah.
Whoa, what a novel idea.
And that's what's insane. You have, I mean, you could look
so
at...
much talent out
you have
there.
so much talent. You have so much talent,
sorry,
and you're not
Broadway.
giving people... Hello?
I mean,
just... you're not giving people those...
No opportunities.
At all.
I see none of those opportunities.
Well,
you're giving them to straight men to play gay roles. And then that's groundbreaking.
Right. Well, we go back to American TV, which is way more vain and looks based versus talent based. Because when you look at British based TV or
anywhere
overseas,
else.
Where
they go
based on talent.
There's
so much more variety in age and someone looking their age in British TV, but also in sexual. Like they will change a role and make it a homosexual relationship because that person is good for it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's because European culture is more accepting of things that we are not of.
Which is so weird, isn't it?
It's very
interesting. It seems like it should be backwards.
Especially as we're the Western world, right?
We're the new world.
We're the new world, and we're not as accepting as
okay.
everything.
All right,
yeah. So I think, I mean, to harken back to Hollywood, I do think there's some type of agenda, but I still think we are a little bit backwards in things. We don't have every representation as much as we would like. Everyone's accepting, but everyone's not pushing forward the representation for everybody. I can't turn on the television and see someone that represents me.
And I only just started seeing me biracial.
Right, exactly.
Me.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, our former president didn't even really.
And
ever
if anything,
say that he was biracial.
if anything, they're the B-list character. They're like the friend of someone.
Yep.
They're not. They're not in the
commercial
forefront.
roles. There's a lot more. Like when you look at casting,
a lot more now.
There's a lot more like. What is it they call it? Like racially ambiguous.
Well, Shonda Rhimes started that by just hiring people based off of the talent.
Shonda was well after I was a kid.
Exactly. She got rid of the color thing. She's like, I'm just going to hire someone who's just good for the role.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are trying to take foot on that. I mean, I would like to say Ryan Murphy does that as well. He tries to put at least representation out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's good. And he also gives a lot of work to people in the gay community, which is great. And they put them in roles, but. You know, I still don't see people that look like me on TV.
Did you identify with Jussie?
You mean Jussie Smollett?
Yeah.
I was a really big fan of Jussie. You know, I really supported him on a lot of things. I think he was doing a lot for the Black gay community. But if we really want to be frank, I had a problem with Jussie because Jussie never outright came out and said that he was gay. He had the opportunity on Ellen and he never even said, I am gay. I remember he did an interview with Ellen as soon as Empire was popular in 2015, and it was backstage. It's on YouTube. You guys can all look at this. And Ellen asked him, like, you wanted to pull me backstage and talk to me about something. The cameras were rolling, and he still didn't say the words, I'm gay. They talked around it in circles, and he never said that. And
but he had to.
I know he said it on other shows later. But the thing that upset me about that is that I do sometimes get upset when people say that they don't want to be identified by their sexuality or they just want to kind of just be like their work. And I get that, but also it's kind of like when we need representation, you kind of need to say what you are. You kind of need to just say like, this is what I am. Yeah. Especially when you're one of the only ones. And at the time when he was on Empire, it was the most popular show at the time. And it would have been really great to kind of see that. And people knew, but he still didn't say the word. Same thing with
and he's playing the role of someone who's gay.
I mean, you could look at someone like Frank Ocean as well, who like sings in his music, but he never comes out and says like, hey, I'm this. And I understand that people don't want to identify by anything, but I often think that we need that identification. Like we need that. We need that in this culture to kind of to move forward. We need kind of people to identify with certain things, and we need to see ourselves out there instead of saying like that's someone that's, you know, fighting for us. It's like we need to say like that gay man is doing what I need that gay man to do.
100%. Wow. I mean, this has been an amazing conversation. I definitely know that we could continue this conversation. We probably will have to do a part 2. But Patrick, thank you again.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, coming through to the Culture Society.
Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable.
Thank you for coming to the Culture Society and sharing and just, you know, enlightening us and just teaching us and our viewers. Once again, this was the Culture Society. Marco Gloria signing off with the whole team. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Blessings.